Hey, y'all, welcome to episode 101 of the Late Night Vision Show. Thank y'all for joining us again this week. We've got a great show for you. I'm going to bring in right now Mr. Jason Robertson of Outdoor Legacy Gear. How you doing, sir?
I am doing great tonight, and I'm glad to be here. Episode 100 was a milestone for us, and we kind of blew off the last week a little bit and just kind of talked about some of the best and worst memories of the show. But I'm
Yep.
I'm glad to be back. And this week, we're back to doing what we like to do a lot of, and that's scope reviews and doing comparisons specifically. So I'm excited about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that I do want to tease a little bit, we had right now, if you're watching this video, we're in the midst of a coronavirus pandemic. If you've listened the last couple of weeks, we've talked about it a bunch. But we had, I'm not going to say we, I had my first experience with an at-home haircut by my wife. And I just want to tease it because we're going to put the video, I videoed everything. But my wife watched Jason's wife give Jason a haircut. And why that is not weird is because Jason's wife has been cutting Jason's hair for the last 20 years. She's a professional hairstylist. She owns a salon. She's used to it. My wife has never held a pair of clippers in her hand ever. And so she watched Jason get a haircut while Amanda was cutting her hair on his hair on FaceTime. Then it was my wife's turn and me getting in the chair, holding the phone on, had it on FaceTime. Jason was watching. Amanda was watching and telling her what to do. And Crystal was cutting my hair. Now, I'm going to say it turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to turn out. I'm going to be loading the videos up on YouTube here anytime. It'll be a special standalone video. But Jason, I was completely expecting to have to just burn my hair.
Yeah, I just
after it
want to
was
say
done,
one quick thing here. It was funny and I got a lot of laughs out of it, but I was really disappointed because his wife, for getting her very first 5 minute, on the job training of cutting hair over FaceTime, she actually did really good. And I was disappointed because I wanted Hans to have one of those jacked up haircuts where like one side is shaved and one side is long. It's actually pretty good. So once the pandemic is over, she may want to go to work as a hairdresser. I don't know.
Yeah, you were rooting for ultimate failure.
I
On
was
that.
rooting.
I could tell the whole time. You were not trying to hide it at all.
No, I
you
was
were wanting
not.
it to go badly, and it went very well.
It
Thank
did.
you very much.
It
So
did.
I was proud of my wife for doing that. But today, we are going to be talking about two night vision scopes, and I know the people out there. We have a lot of night vision users. A lot of people that they can only use night vision. They're not allowed to use thermal for whatever reason, and this is something that. Speaking specifically about the Pulsar Digex N450 that was announced at SHOT Show 2020, there's been a lot of excitement of people wanting to know about it. We did our review on it, and now people want us to compare it. So we're doing a comparison between the Pulsar Digex N450 and the Pulsar DigiSight N450. And Jason, why don't you run down the specs real quick? And then after that, we'll kind of give our thoughts on our likes and dislikes and which one we would choose.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, so real quick, the DigiSight, we did a full review on it as well last year. For those that don't know, if you're not watching on YouTube, Hans is kind of holding some of these scopes up. The DigiSight Ultra N450 looks just like a Pulsar Trail thermal rifle scope. So that's what it looks like. Same type of design. It is a digital night vision scope, though. The Pulsar Digex looks just like the Pulsar Thermion thermal rifle scopes, which are the new thermals that look just like a traditional rifle scope. It's in a 30 millimeter aluminum scope tube housing, whereas the DigiSight is in some sort of a composite plastic housing. One other thing I want to mention, these are the N450s that we're talking about. The N455s basically are going to apply for everything that we talk about here. The only difference is the N455s come with a 940 IR illuminator, not the most popular 850, which is what almost everybody in the US uses. I'm not going to get into the 850 versus 940. That's a subject for another day. But basically, I just want people to understand that the scopes are the same besides the IR illuminators. So the 450s and 455s for 99% of our talk are going to be the same here. Jumping in, what you're going to find, I'm going to go ahead and give you the spoiler. These two scopes are nearly identical when it comes to the guts. What you've got here on both scopes is the digital imaging sensor is a CMOS or CMOS sensor. They're both 1280 by 720. There is a base magnification on the Digex of 4 power with a digital zoom of up to 16 power. The DigiSight is a 4.5 power base mag with a digital zoom up to 18 power. Eye relief is the same at 50 millimeters on both of them. The weight, this is one that surprises a lot of people. The weight on the DigiSight is 29.3 ounces, and the weight on the Digex is 33.5 ounces. So you're about 4 ounces heavier there. And why that's surprising is a lot of people look at the thin, sleek design of the Digex and they think it's got to weigh less. It actually weighs a few ounces more, and that's just because of that all metal housing. So that thing, I don't, and I'd tell you this, if you picked them up, you won't notice that extra weight because the Digex is longer. So that weight is spread out and distributed through the whole thing. So you're not going to pick it up and notice it's a lot heavier, but it does have 4 extra ounces. The display on both units is identical. It is an AMOLED 1024 by 768 resolution. They're both rated for extremely cold temperatures down to -15 or below. They both have audio and video recording internally. They both have the very popular Pulsar feature of picture-in-picture. They have both have rechargeable battery pack systems. Now I'm going to talk about the DigiSight first. It uses the IPS battery system that the Pulsar Trail and Pulsar Helion thermals use. You're going to be looking at about a 6 to 8 hour battery life on this unit. The battery is removable, is replaceable. There's some other battery options there. The Digex, now this is an interesting battery system because it's a dual rechargeable battery system. There is one battery and it is internal that you cannot remove. It's laying horizontal in the scope tube. And then there's another battery that's under the top plastic cap that looks like a scope turret, and it's really just a plastic cap. When you take that off, you pull out what's called an APS2 battery. There is a longer life APS3 battery. And again, not going to get into all that right here, but as it comes, you're looking at about a 4 to 4.5 hour battery life in the field. Now, when I say, about 4.5, on the bench, this scope gets a little over 6 hours of battery life. It has been tested, and that's what it gets. But in the field, using it, different features, video recording, turning it off and on, all that, you're just going to use more battery. So I'm going to be conservative and say 4.5 hours is very reasonable for that. Also, one thing that we need to note, both scopes, both of these N450s do come with an included 850 infrared LED IR illuminator. Infrared IR, that's what that is. And they're both removable. The DigiSight, that IR doesn't look like it's removable. If you're not really sure, it's kind of a little trick. You can pop that thing off, so if you don't need it, if you're going to be using another one, somewhere else on your rifle and you don't want that one on there, you can take it off. That IR illuminator is tied into the same battery that runs the DigiSight. So it's got one battery to run everything. I can't even say them now. The Digex has an illuminator. It's a pretty ingenious design. It can actually be flipped back and forth to whichever side you prefer it to be on, but it has its own battery on it, and it runs off of a separate APS2 Pulsar battery pack. Moving along, both scopes also have the Wi-Fi feature for the Pulsar Stream Vision app, which allows you to stream to a smartphone or tablet within a few feet of the scope. You can see on the scope, on the tablet or the phone, what's going on live from the scope. And they're also both rated for up to and including a 375 H&H rifle or 12 gauge shotgun. So these things are definitely built for the, banging around and high
Hmm.
recoil. They're also
Yeah.
both IPS 6-7 rating, which means they are fully submersible in water for up to 3 foot for 30 minutes. So there is a rundown on the specs. And as you can see, besides the way they look, they're very similar. The only real difference, besides 3 or 4 ounces of weight, is that the DigX is a 4 power, where the DigiSight is a 4.5.
Yeah. So thank you for running down those specs. That's a lot to talk about.
It
I want to
is.
get into a little bit before we get into likes and dislikes. I want to talk a little bit about accessories that, if you're interested in one of these scopes, is going to go a long way in making the performance, I think, better and more enjoyable. But there's a lot of people out there that say, well, if I buy the scope and then, and what I want to talk about right now is an upgraded IR illuminator. So Jason and I both like the Sniper Hog lights. The model that we use is the 66 LRX.
Mhm.
That's what we've tested and used with other night vision scopes, and all around that's. I think it works well with any night vision scope that we've tried, and I've tried it with this one as well, and they performed really well. But you may think, well, I've got to buy the scope, and then you're telling me that I've got to buy an upgraded IR light. Well, you don't have to. These IR lights will, I think, Jason, you tell me your opinion. 200, 250 yards, no problem at all. I think you can, if you want to shoot and most of your shots are regularly under 200 yards, then the IR light that's included on it is just fine. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I think if you're going to be doing most everything at 200
Hmm.
yards, maybe a little more or less, sure, no problem. I would
Yeah.
not buy an extra light for it. If you really want to see what's going on out there at, really well at 250, 275, 300 plus, then you need to get a brighter IR illuminator. You're just going to have to do that to get those long ranges. These scopes are capable. They just have to have a really bright light to do it, or IR light
Yeah.
to do it. And so I would agree with you there. I think it just depends on how far you want to see. One thing I want to mention about both these scopes, that they have the ability to do that a lot of the less expensive scopes, like the Sightmark Race or the ATNX sights, some of these less expensive digital scopes, these have a high quality, high end digital imaging sensor, which will pull in a ton of ambient light. So you get out there on a bright moonlit night, these things will see 300-400 yards without the illuminator. It's
Right.
crazy how much light they're able to pull in,
Yeah.
without an illuminator. So when you put a really good illuminator with them, they have that ability to really use that IR light. And with the high resolution, you can still get a good image on out there.
Yeah, I think with the Sniper Hog Light, because I've had these scopes for a few weeks, and I tested them with the factory IR light, and then the Sniper Hog Light 66 LRX, and I was able to get twice as much distance with the Sniper Hog Light than I was with the regular standard IR scope. So with the Sniper Hog Light, I mean, you could see easily out to 600 to 800 yards. I
Oh yeah.
don't think any problem at all. And these scopes are, like Jason said, high quality enough that they can see way further than even they're set up to do right now because of just the factory IR light that's on it. But I would definitely suggest, if you're wanting to see past that 300-yard mark, and you're wanting to, if you're a coyote hunter or hog hunter, that's you've got some spread out areas, I would definitely think about getting an upgraded IR light. And there's a
Yeah,
lot of people out there that do it. If you look anywhere on social media, I mean, everybody's souping up their night vision scopes these
yeah.
days.
And I want to say one thing here, real quick. This is some confusion some people get. We're not suggesting that you need, want to, or should, or we would advise you to shoot 3, 4, 500 yards. We're just talking about seeing. And
Yeah.
so, if you're hunting coyotes and you're calling and you're on a big field that you can see 400 or 500 yards, you want to know that one's coming in at 400.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if you're not going to shoot him till he gets to, 125 or less, then you still want to know that he's coming. Hey, I'm doing something right. Keep calling, or maybe he's
Right.
hung up. I need to change calls, whatever. Same thing with hogs. Hey, look, they're way out there. We can go walk to them. So that's the benefit. I don't want people to think that we're saying, oh, you're going to go shoot 3 or 4, 500 yards. Not at all. It's just
Yeah.
being able to see what is out there. And so also we do choose the 66 LRX Sniper Hog Light. We sell those. We really like them. We have the Coyote Cannon. We've done a
Uh-huh.
review of those as well as the 66 on another episode. They're all great lights. We like the 66, a little less expensive, and it's just kind of the right size. But something else I want to get into real quick before we even kind of dive into the comparisons is let's talk about the scope mounts for both of these because there's different mounting systems for both. And I'm going to just jump in real quick. I'll let you talk to him about the Digex, but on the DigiSight, it comes with a standard mount in the box. It is about 8.5 inches long. There's multiple screw holes in it, so you can kind of move it forward or backwards where you need it for the proper eye relief. It is not a quick detach return to zero mount. It works just fine if you're going to mount it on a rifle, AR-15, or a bolt gun with a Picatinny rail. It works. You mount it on there, you're good to go. If you want a quick detach mount, something that you can pull off, put back on there, you need to look at the Pulsar Quick Detach Mount. They're $100, and it's a really nice, simple little single QD throw lever mount. And then if you want a high end, top of the line, sure enough, return to zero mount, that's going to be the Zero Delta D-Lock mount. We sell those as well. They're $250. And a lot of people say, golly, do I need a $250 mount? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, most people use the Pulsar QDs for $100 and really like them. They do
Yeah.
well, but there's just a lot of guys who are into high-end mounts. That's what they want, and
Yep.
they want to know that they've got the best quality mount. That's the Zero Delta. I'm not telling you you've got to have it, but that is an option for it, as well as the Pulsar QD for a much more, affordable price.
Yeah. So on the Pulsar Digex, really the same scope that Jason and I use for our Pulsar Thermion XP50, the thermal scope, is actually the same mount that you can use, and we recommend on the Pulsar Digex. It's the American Defense Manufacturing mount. It's a QD. It's got the two throw levers on it. It's cantilevered. It's specially made for 30 millimeter tubes, and that one is. I tell people all the time when Jason and I both shoot suppressed. We've got to clean our rifles a lot. Take my scope off every time. Clean my rifle, put it back on, and it's always right where I left it. So it's the American Defense Manufacturing mount. It's a one-piece cantilever QD mount that is American-made, top quality. It's $180. You can pick both of these mounts up at OutdoorLegacyGear.com, but that's definitely what we would recommend for both of these night vision scopes.
Yep. So Hans, all right, jumping into these two, we've reviewed them both. We've both used them a good bit. I guess my question is to you: what are your likes? What are your dislikes? I mean, throw some stuff out on both of them. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, we'll just both of us kind of go at it. You and I were talking about this before. I really like the battery setup on the DigiSight.
Sure.
We're big fans of the Trail models and design back before they were discontinued, but we love that one. Removable, rechargeable. It's a bigger battery, but you're getting a little bit more runtime out of it, and it's not an internal battery setup. So definitely like that about the DigiSight.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that's going to argue that the DigiSight's going to win with the battery system. Period.
Right.
It just does.
Right.
It's just no internal battery, a longer lasting battery. Nobody can argue with that. I mean, I think it is. I do not hate the batteries on the Digex at all. I mean, you do still have a removable battery, which is fine. You do have, the APS2s, the APS3s. You can get longer battery life if you need it. But I would say right there on batteries, I am going to choose the DigiSight. I do like that system a little bit better.
I also like the fact that the IR light on the DigiSight, the IR light is integrated into the battery of the scope, so you're not having to charge a separate battery like you do with
Yep,
the Digexes.
I agree.
You know, as far as my likes and versus the DigiSight and the Digex, I think those are the two main ones. I really prefer the design of the Digex. Obviously, I'm very partial to the Thermion scope. The Digex looks just like it almost.
Just
I mean,
like
as
it,
close,
yeah.
almost as as close as it can be. I like the IR mount on the Digex where it can be reversed and switched to another side.
That
I think
is
that's
very
pretty
ingenious.
ingenious.
And I'm
Yeah,
going to tell you
very
something.
ingenious.
There's some voodoo magic going on with that mount. And I'm going to tell you why. You pull that thing off and you would think to move that to the other side, I would somehow have to like turn it around and the light would be backwards. And then I put it on. I'm like, it's still on this side. You're just basically rotating it is all you're doing.
It rotates, yeah.
But every time I look at it and then I move it from left to right, I'm like, how did that just happen? And it's just that
Yep.
you're rotating it. That's a
So,
really ingenious design. It's super quick to take off, which,
so
yeah, go ahead.
well, yeah, easy to take off, and if whether you want to use it or not. But I also do like the on the DigiSight to change the brightness of the light. You have to push the back. There's a button on the back, and you've got to push it one, two, or three times, and that increases the brightness of the light. This one actually has a dial. The Digex has a dial where you can increase the brightness on
Yeah.
it. So it makes it a little bit more. I think intuitive in that way, where you can kind of control that a little bit more, and it's the technology involved in that I think is pretty neat.
Yeah, I tell you
I
one
don't
thing
know.
that
What do you think?
I like on the Digex. One thing that, and it's a small amount, but the lower magnification. I mean, being
Yeah.
4 power versus 4.5, it is. I just tell you, I mean, this is no secret. We don't like 4 power, 4.5 power. I
Yeah.
mean, it just doesn't fit this Texas
Yeah.
Southern style of hog hunting. And people, you've got to, I mean, you don't have a lot of choice. If you use digital night vision, almost all these scopes are between 3 and 5 power. So it's very, very common. But with a lot of the thermal scopes, you can get into the lower magnification, wider field of views. So I do like the fact on the Digex, at least I'm dropping down a little bit on that magnification, and every little bit counts. So I do, and something funny I heard you say in there, and it makes me laugh because if somebody listened to every one of our episodes, they could go back and call us out on this. You said that you really like the design of the Digex with the scope tube more than the trail, and I'm pretty sure I could go dust off the archives and I could find where you and I both said that we did when the Thermions were just announced before we'd ever used one. We didn't like the design, and I think I might have gone so far as to say it was a mistake. And now
You're
that
exactly right.
now that
Yeah.
we've got them and used them, I really, really like it. I like that design, and I say this about the Thermions. I say it about the Digex. There's something about the design and the way that even though this thing may weigh a few ounces more, that weight is distributed through, there's weight on both ends, a little bit in the middle, and when you put that on a rifle, it's balanced. When
Yeah,
you
it
put
does
a
feel
when you put a
balanced.
Digisight or a trail or something with that design, more of that common thermal digital rifle scope design, you feel the weight because it's right in the middle. I mean, it's kind of, and I don't mean this to sound like it's going to sound, but it's like strapping a brick to your AR. I mean, it's just condensed. And so that weight is there. And I just think it feels better with these longer,
Yep.
scopes with the weight distributed out through them. But so anyway, I really agree with you. I like that. I don't hate the Digisight design by any means, but I do think the Digex
We
is good.
definitely we definitely ate a little bit of crow on that, and
We
we
did.
were not fans of the new design of the Thermions and the Digex before this thing even came out. But and now we prefer it, and we're slow to change, but once it comes on board, we jump in with both feet.
do.
But we do. I think it looks great.
I'm going to tell you one thing that I like, and this is where I think that for me, It's one of the reasons, again, we like this design over the Trail Digex design. Is for me, the controls of the menus and the recording and all that, in my opinion, is much easier on the Digex than it is the DigiSight. And my reasoning for saying that is, with the DigiSight, you've got 4 buttons down the top, and there's one button in the middle that's square, and you can reach up there with your finger and you can feel it, and that's kind of like your home button. So it's like typing. You know, you can feel the little bumps, you know where to put your fingers on the keyboard. Same thing there. So once you find that, it's muscle memory, you know how to control it. The problem is that if you've got on any kind of gloves, or if it's, you know, again, it's black dark most of the time you're using it, sometimes it's hard to know exactly which button you're on. You press the wrong one. The way that this Digex works is on the rear of the scope, right above the eyepiece, there's 3 buttons. The big main button is the power button. That's a perfect place for it. It's right there. It's you know, easy to get to, turn off and on. But then there's also 2 more buttons there. One is to start and stop video recording, and one is to zoom, or you can turn on your picture-in-picture function. Every other, you know, menu option is you've got to go over to the left-hand side, and there's a little scroll wheel. Again, it looks like a scope turret, and it's not. You press in, then you can, you know, roll the dial. I think it's real easy to use. But those internal things are things you're not going to be using on a normal night. So when you get this scope out and you set it up, the only things you're normally going to do is you're going to turn it off, you're going to turn it on. You're going to start and stop video recording, and you're going to zoom in. Those are the same things you're going to do on the DigiSight, but there's just more buttons to do those same things. And so, again, here, I know we're splitting some hairs. I don't dislike that design on the DigiSight, but I really do like the way the Digex design is.
Yeah, it's almost like the people that designed it are actually hunters because they said, okay, which buttons are we going to use the most of, and we're going to make those more accessible, and you know, we're going to stick everything else somewhere else. And you're right. You're exactly right. I think the button layout is much better on the Digex than the DigiSight. And you know, there's some other things I do like the fact that you know, I'm just a big fan of that American Defense Manufacturing mount.
I know.
and it really, this has nothing to do with performance, but gosh dang, it looks good when you have it mounted on a rifle.
It does.
It does. And sometimes, you know, if you feel like you look good and you you know,
yeah,
if you feel like you look cool, maybe you are cool. Maybe
it helps. Maybe it helps you with those coyotes and hogs. Well,
yeah, exactly.
I honestly, I'm going to say this, and I think I'm going to ask you in a minute. So get ready. I'm going to ask you which one your pick is. And I do not know for sure what he's going to say because we didn't talk about this before the show. So I want to hear exactly what he says the first time. But my thing that I want to say before we make a pick, either one of us, these scopes are a toss up. Okay. We have nitpicked the buttons, even though we don't dislike the buttons. We've nitpicked, you know, batteries, even though, you know, so we're trying to find some differences, because when you put the same internals in the scopes, which they both have, besides the, you know, 4 power and 4.5, which is still very similar, you got to find something to nitpick. And so that's what we're trying to do. I think if you put them in a bag and shook them up and you drew one out and that's the one you had to hunt with, I think you're going to be happy with whichever one that is. But
Right.
Drum roll, if Hans East Texas, the hog killing king of East Texas,
Here comes the hate mail now.
yeah, exactly right. If you had to choose one, which one are you going to choose?
Oh man, I'm going to say right out of the box, I do believe the IR light on the Digex is more powerful than the one on the DigiSight. I think out of the box, if you're not going to change anything at all, you can probably see further with the Digex for the accessories that come with it. So I've had these scopes for the last 3 weeks. I've been using them a lot, and you can see further with the Digex. So my choice, and I think we made it pretty known just the way we were talking about it. I do prefer the Digex. I like the design. I'm a big fan of the button layout. The only thing that I wish if we could have the same type of battery setup on the Digex that we have with the DigiSight, it'd be flawless.
Sure.
Because you and I are not a big fan of any type of internal battery on any optic.
Yep.
But really to me, that's the only downside to this scope.
Yeah, I agree, and I do think it's a toss up. And what I would tell guys that are ready to make this decision and say, I just don't know, I would say, which design do you like? I mean, that's it. Yeah. I mean, it's which design do you like? And if you say, man, I just like the looks of the DigiSight and I like that battery pack system, perfect. And I know guys that tell me, and this is something we didn't really get into. I have guys that say, hey, one day I'm going to get a Pulsar Helion thermal monocular. Well, it's going to use this IPS battery. I just assume my scope used that. I have guys right now that have bought the Pulsar Axion, which is their small little handheld size thermal monoculars that use this APS battery. So they're saying, well, I'm logically going to choose the Digex because it's got the same battery. So I think that can play a role in, you're making your decision as well, kind of which other unit you might already own or are going to own. But if I had to choose one, I would choose the Digex, but it's like splitting hairs. I mean,
it is. It's a toss up.
It's a toss up. I think again, it looks good. It feels good on the rifle. I'm just partial to the Thermion, so it looks just like it. But they're the same.
Did you give the price of both of them? I can't remember if you gave
the price. There's something good on a scope review.
Minute number 33 of the episode.
For a guy who sells scopes for a living, he might ought to mention the price. So, and I want to bring up one more thing. I'm gonna surprise you here with something I want to talk about real quick. The Digex is $1,199, $1,199. The DigiSight is $1,299. So you're looking at about $1,200 and $1,300 respectively. The DigiSight being $100 more, and so really, really similar on the price. But that was something good to bring up. I'm going to bring up one more thing. We only have a couple minutes left, but I just want to throw this out here. And when I get done, Hans can say he agrees or disagrees. But I'm getting a lot of questions, and they're very logical questions. Guys that call me about the DigiSight and the Digex, and then they say, hey, are these things really worth, $600, $700, $800 more than something like a Sightmark Wraith 4K? We've already done a review last year of the Wraith next to the DigiSight, and what I want to say to you is this. Yes, they are worth more. There's a value here, okay? Is it worth it to you? I can't make that decision for you. You've got to make it. But I want to paint this quick picture, and I'm going to give you this little rundown because this is a question I'm getting every single day on the phone. Why is this thing worth more? Is it just because it says Pulsar on the side? And the answer to that is no. So these Pulsars, number one, it is a high-end digital imaging sensor. Like we talked about early in the show, these things can pull in all kinds of ambient light, including moonlight and starlight, and brighten your image. These less expensive scopes cannot do that. Also, when you buy one of these Pulsars, you're getting several features that you're not getting on something like the Wraith HD. You are not getting audio along with your video recording. You're not getting a smartphone app. You're not getting picture-in-picture. You're not getting a removable rechargeable battery pack system. You're also not getting a European designed and manufactured optic. And This is nothing negative about the Wraith. And if anybody tries to say I'm down in it here, go back and listen to all the shows where we got accused of being fanboys for just promoting it like crazy. But it is a $500 Chinese made optic. Okay. And that's fine. That's what it has to be to get it to that price. These are $1,200 European optics in the exact same housing as their counterparts that are $3,000 to $5,000 thermal scopes. I mean, it's the same exterior housing. So, these things aren't thrown together. So now, to answer the question, which I told you what the answer is going to be, is it worth it? I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it to you, but if any of those features I mentioned are worth it to you, if those things you go, man, I want a high-end optic. Maybe I can't afford thermal, or I'm just not going to spend the money, but I want something that is, again, and one more thing I didn't mention, higher recoil rating. These less expensive digital night vision scopes are all maxed out at 308s. So if you want to shoot something, larger, this is the place to go. So I do think there's real value here. Whether it's worth it to you, that's a decision you've got to make. But you're not just buying something and paying over twice as much for it because it's got a different logo on the side. There is value. And whether it's value to you, that's the decision for your money that you have to make. But I just wanted to throw that out because we're getting that question just repeatedly.
Yeah, and another thing I want to talk about too is people ask about using these during the daytime as well. They want to know if it's a daytime.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Okay, daytime, nighttime use. Both of these optics can be used during the day, but these are made and designed for night hunting. And I say that because during the day you're just going to see a gray screen. It's not full color HD picture, nothing like that. These are, if you have a hunting rig set up, a rifle that you want to primarily hunt with at night, and you want the best night vision optic for that setup, these are the scopes that you're probably going to want to choose from if you want the best night vision hunting rig setup. If you're needing something that you want to hunt with during the day and night, and you need something that can kind of go back and forth on, you might want to take a look at another scope, maybe a Sightmark Wraith, that does have a full color HD screen during the day. But if you just say, hey, I've got one rifle that's dedicated to night hunting, I want the best out there, the best picture, definitely one of these scopes is going to be better at night than that Sightmark Wraith.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'm glad you brought that up. I had a guy that called last Friday, had this exact conversation, and he was just about sold and decided that he wanted the Digex. And then he made this comment about hunting in the daytime. And I said, whoa, you just threw this on me. And I said, are you going to hunt in the daytime much? And he said, oh, yeah, I want to use it, all the time. I was like, whoop, we're done. Go back. You need a Wraith, because he'd already been talking about it. I was like, there's your answer right there. And we talked a little more, and he was like, okay, that's what I'm doing. It makes sense. And he said, I'm glad I mentioned that. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you did too. It's not that you can't use these during the day. It's just not a good experience. They're just black and white image. It's like looking at a security camera or something in the daylight. It feels weird. At night, it's great. In the daytime, it's just strange. It's fine for zeroing. It's fine if you go out there and, hey, you're going to sit in the stand for 45 minutes before dark. You don't want to carry two, right? It's just fine for that. But if you want to go out and hunt hogs and deer or whatever in the daylight, that's probably not the best scope for you.
So, folks, there you have it. Both of us chose the Pulsar Digex N450, and we did so because we thought it's a cooler looking scope. So you heard it here.
I did not say that. Hey, folks, if you want any of these optics, whether it's the Digex, the DigiSight, the Wraith, something else. Maybe you want to talk about another scope. Maybe you're looking for thermal. Whatever it is, give us a call. You can go to outdoorlegacygear.com. That's Outdoor Legacy Gear, GEAR. You can go there, see all this stuff. But you can give us a call at 877-350-1818. And we'd be glad to answer any of your questions, walk you through any of this stuff. again, related to these optics or anything else related to night vision or thermal imaging. And we would love to have your business. Your business helps, well, it doesn't help. It supports this podcast and keeps us on the air. So we would really appreciate you giving us a shot at your business. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the social medias. But the best place is, again, that phone number or outdoorlegacygear.com. If you're looking for Mr. Hans East Texas, the better half of this show, you can go to YouTube and search for him there, and you can subscribe so that you never miss an episode. He's been doing full in-depth field reviews on all these scopes that we've talked about on here. This channel, we don't show a lot of stuff from the field. That's just not what it's designed for. But in Hans's reviews, he does stuff there from, hands-on in his office as well as out in the field, so you get an idea of what they will do. So you can go to Hans ETX, HANSETX on YouTube, also on Instagram. He's over there posting pictures all the time. So if you're offended by dead hogs and dead coyotes, do not go there. You do not need to go there. You need to go to wherever the snowflakes go. But if you want to see some blood and guts, you can go check him out there.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, my last video on the Hans ETX YouTube channel was my review of this scope right here, the Pulsar Digex N450. There is video from the field, looking at hogs at 75 yards, looking at deer at different ranges, even looking at my buddy Patrick, who I made do the walkout video where he started at 50 yards and went out to 300 yards. So put him to work for a little bit. But we appreciate, Jason and I, again, appreciate y'all joining us for episode 101. Join us next Thursday for another episode of the Late Night Vision Show. But until then, y'all stay safe out there. Keep making them bacon pancakes. We'll see y'all soon.